Welcome back to my YouTube family. Something happened this morning, and if you receive Social Security, or you will one day, this affects you directly. The government released an official report, and inside that report is one number, just one, that is going to determine what your check looks like in the next several years. I'm going to show you that number, but first, I need you to understand exactly where it came from, because the number by itself, without the context, will either scare you for no reason or give you false comfort. Here's what I can tell you right now. If you are 61 years old or older, this report names your exact age group specifically. If you are receiving Social Security today, this report affects the math behind your check. And if you have a parent, a spouse, or anyone you love on Social Security, by the end of this video, you are going to know something that most of them do not. Stay with me, because the number itself is not the scary part. What's scary is what most people are about to do with it, and I'll show you exactly what not to do. That part comes near the end, and it might be the most important thing in this entire video. Quick note, if this channel helps you, hit subscribe and the bell. I read these reports so you don't have to dig through hundreds of pages yourself, and I bring you what actually matters. Now, let's get into it. What the report actually says, and the year that changed. This morning, the Social Security Administration released its 2026 Trustees Report. This report comes out every year, and most years nobody pays attention to it. This year is different. Here's the headline number I promised you. The Social Security Trust Fund, the reserve account that helps pay your monthly benefit, is now projected to run out in the fourth quarter of 2032. Now, before you do anything with that number, I want you to notice something. Last year's report said 2033. This year, it moved to 2032. That's 1 year earlier, and there's a very specific reason it moved, a reason almost nobody is talking about, and it's connected to a law that was signed less than a year ago. I'll come back to that because it changes how you should think about everything else in this video. For now, here's what 2032 actually means, and this is the part most headlines are going to get wrong tonight. Social Security does not stop. It does not shut down. What happens is this. Once the reserve is gone, the program can only pay out what it collects from payroll taxes that same week. And that amount, according to the report, covers 78% of scheduled benefits. 78%. Hold that number in your head, because in a moment, I'm going to show you what that means in actual dollars for a check like yours. But first, there's something about who this affects most that I think you need to hear, because it might not be who you'd expect. The group most exposed, and it might be someone in your own house. When people hear Social Security Trust Fund, most assume this is a problem for young people, something for their grandchildren to worry about. That assumption is wrong, and the report is very specific about why. If you are currently between 61 and 65 years old, the report places you in a very particular position. By 2032, you will be at or near your full retirement age. That means the years you're in right now, the years where you're deciding when to claim, how much to withdraw from savings, whether to keep working, those decisions are happening inside the exact window this report is talking about. But here's the group I think gets overlooked the most, and it's the one I want to spend a moment on. According to a recent Senior Citizens League survey, 73% of retirees depend on Social Security for more than half of their total income. 39% depend on it for all of their income. If you fall into that second group, Social Security isn't a supplement for you, it's the floor. And when I show you the dollar math in a moment, I want you to think about what a change to that floor would actually mean for your month, not in the abstract, but for your actual bills. There's also a third group this report mentions that I haven't seen any other channel talk about yet, and it's a group that includes more people than you'd think. I'll get to them, but first, let's do the math I promised. Okay, here's the math I've been promising. Stay with me for this part, because once you see your number, the rest of this video is about what you can actually do about it, and that's the part that matters most. Your number and why this year's report moved up a year. 78%. Here's what that looks like on a real check. If your monthly Social Security benefit is $2,000, 78% of that is $1,560. That's a difference of $440 every month. If your benefit is $2,500, the difference is $550 a month. Now, remember I said I'd come back to why this year's report moved the date up from 2033 to 2022? Here's why. And I think this is the most important piece of context in this entire video. The report names a specific law, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed in July 2025. That law reduced the income taxes many seniors pay on their Social Security benefits, which on its own is good news if you're one of the people paying less tax right now. But here's the connection almost nobody is making. The taxes that seniors pay on their Social Security benefits are one of the funding sources for the trust fund. Less tax collected from benefits means less money flowing back into the reserve, which means the reserve runs out faster. That's the one-year shift right there. I'm not telling you this to make you feel like there's no winning. I'm telling you because there's a pattern hiding inside this, and it's the same pattern that's been showing up in Social Security for over 40 years. And once you see the pattern, the next part of this video, what Congress is likely to actually do, makes a lot more sense. This has happened before, and the third group I mentioned. In 1983, Social Security was just weeks away from being unable to pay full benefits. Sound familiar? Congress passed a bipartisan package. They raised the retirement age gradually, adjusted payroll taxes, and began taxing benefits for higher earners. It worked. Social Security has never, not once, missed a payment in its entire history. This is the pattern. Social Security has run toward a deadline before, and Congress has acted before that deadline arrived. Not years in advance, but close to it, when the political pressure becomes unavoidable. The 2032 date isn't a guarantee of a cut. It's a deadline that creates pressure, and a 22% cut to 71 million Americans spread across every single congressional district in the country is the kind of pressure that tends to produce action. Now, that third group I mentioned earlier, the one I haven't seen anyone else cover, it's women, specifically widows. Women live longer on average, which means more years of exposure to any future change, and many widows are collecting a survivor benefit, which is often already a reduced amount compared to what their spouse received. A percentage cut applied to an already reduced number hits harder proportionally for this group than almost anyone else. If that's you or someone in your family, I want you to remember this part, because the actions I'm about to give you matter most for this group specifically. Now, here's where this video earns its place, because everything up to this point has been about understanding the situation. What comes next is about what you actually do with it. And there's one thing in particular that I see people doing right now, today, because of news like this one. And it's the thing I most want to talk you out of before you do it. The one decision I want you to slow down on and what to do instead. Here's what I'm seeing happen because of reports like this one. People who haven't yet claimed Social Security and were planning to wait are now thinking about claiming early, right now, out of fear. Better to get it while it's there, the thinking goes. I understand that instinct completely. But here's the problem with it. Claiming at 62 instead of 67 locks in a permanent reduction of roughly 30% for the rest of your life. That's a permanent decision made today based on a 2032 scenario that, based on the 1983 pattern we just talked about, Congress has historically addressed before it fully arrives. So instead of making a permanent decision based on fear, here's what I'd suggest doing this week. 4 things, and every one of them is free. First, if you haven't claimed yet, Go to ssa.gov and use the retirement estimator. See your actual numbers at 62, at your full retirement age, and at 70. Make your decision based on your numbers, not headlines. Second, if you're already receiving benefits, log into your My Social Security account and check your earnings record. Errors in that record reduce your benefit permanently, and they're free to fix. This is worth doing regardless of what happens in 2032. Third, if your income has dropped since 2023 because of a retirement or a life change, check whether you're paying a Medicare surcharge called IRMA that you may no longer qualify for. The form is SSA 44, and it's free to file. And fourth, there's a tax deduction that took effect for 2025 through 2028, specifically for people 65 and older, $6,000 per person, $12,000 for married couples. If you've already filed your taxes this year and didn't claim it, you may be able to amend your return. None of these four things depend on what Congress does in 2032. All four of them put more money in your pocket or protect money you're already owed, starting now. So here's everything brought together. The 2026 Trustees Report says the trust fund runs out in late 2032. At that point, without action from Congress, benefits would automatically drop to 78%. That's $440 less on a $2,000 check. But Social Security has faced this exact kind of deadline before, in 1983, and Congress acted. The honest, historically grounded takeaway is, this is serious, it deserves your attention, but it is not a reason to make a permanent claiming decision out of fear today. What is worth doing today? Check your numbers at ssa.gov, verify your earnings record, check if you're owed an IRMA refund, and make sure you've claimed the $6,000 senior deduction. All four, free, available now, and worth doing no matter what happens in 2032. Here's an honest question, and I genuinely like to know what you think. Some people believe that news like this means you should grab your benefit early, just in case. Others believe, like I laid out today, that the historical pattern suggests waiting is still usually the better math. There's no single right answer for everyone because it depends on your health, your other income, and your own situation. What would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone, and I think this is a conversation worth having together. If this helped you understand today's news a little more clearly, share it with someone you love who's on Social Security or close to it. That's exactly why this channel exists. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.